How's it going, everybody? And welcome back to the long awaited return of the Brock at the Buzzard podcast. I'm your host, Brock Kowalski. The last time you heard from me, we were covering the Spurs. The answer is no more. I'm covering the NBA's MVP and the NBA's best team. Who am I speaking of? The Oklahoma City Thunder. And that is who we're going to kick off this episode with here today. We're also going to talk about the Buffalo Bills quarterback, Josh Allen, winning the 2024 NFL MVP. And we're going to also conclude the episode by previewing Sunday's Daytona 500. Again, please like the video, subscribe, and enjoy the show. As I just said, we're going to start off today's episode by talking about the Oklahoma City Thunder. After trade deadline madness, the Thunder still remain the NBA champion favorites. Even after the Lakers acquired Luka Doncic for a box of cookies, talking about Anthony Davis, who is already hurt for the Dallas Mavericks, and Max Christie, who is also on tonight's injury report for the Dallas Mavericks, and just one measly first-round pick for from the Los Angeles Lakers. From the Spurs landing their co-star in De'Aaron Fox, and the Golden State Warriors landing unhappy Jimmy Butler. Also, another key addition at the trade deadline came from the Cleveland Cavaliers as they acquired DeAndre Hunter, who is having a career season so far this NBA season. But the Oklahoma City Thunder are still the NBA championship favorites, and here is why. SGA continues to run away with the NBA MVP. Currently leads the NBA in scoring at 32.7 points per game, third in steals at 1.9 steals per game. And he also hasn't had his Robin, Chet Holmgren, who we will talk about in just a moment, for 39 games this season. Yes, Jalen Williams, J-Dub is an all-star, but SGA has done the majority of the heavy lifting for the majority of the season. And also, the Thunder have not been healthy not once all season to this point. And with that all being said, the Thunder once again sit atop the NBA's Western Conference with an impressive 42-9 record. Speaking of Chet Holmgren, what makes the Thunder team so dangerous? In my opinion, the favorite to win the NBA title, the return of number 7. Chet Holmgren made his long-awaited return from his fractured hip he sustained in late November on Friday night against the Toronto Raptors. Yes, his numbers don't look gaudy if you look at his numbers from that game. Nothing impressive whatsoever, but Chet looked healthy. He looked fit. He looked ready to go. And again, I think it was a lot of adjusting going on Friday night to a certain lineup that we'll discuss in just a moment. With Chet's return, now happened, this gives the Thunder a whole new dimension, as they now have the opportunity, and probably will use it over and over again, to play both Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein for the rest of the way. I think that is the ideal pairing, especially when you're going up against a lot of these Western Conference teams who have size at both the 5 and 4 positions. But this also gives the Thunder the ability to space the floor, keep the paint clear for SGA, Jalen Williams, etc. But you also really don't lose any speed. You don't lose size, you gain size here. But and also you don't lose outside shooting because Chet Holmgren is a phenomenal three-point shooter. So that will be his role within this lineup is to space the floor. And if there's an open lane, take it because most teams are doubling Shea Gilgeous Alexander for good reason now. And that will open more lanes and more and create more space for Chet Holmgren. But I will say the Hartenstein and Holmgren pairing will take time to develop, as we saw on Friday night against the Toronto Raptors. But with that being said, for the first time this season, tonight against the New Orleans Pelicans, a game that you can catch at 8 p.m. Eastern after you listen to this podcast on NBA League Pass. And if you're in Oklahoma City, on, of course, FanDuel Sports Network, I think we're going to see the lineup of Shea Gilgeous Alexander, Lou Dort, who had been out due to back tightness the last two games. He's off the injury report and is expected to play this evening against the New Orleans Pelicans. And he will join, obviously, Jalen Williams, J-Dub, the All-Star, well-deserved All-Star nod for Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, and Isaiah Hartenstein. I think that is the Thunder's ideal lineup as we move forward. But as I said, it will take time for those five in particular to get a groove. Especially, you really don't want to do this to Aaron Wiggins, who has been playing spectacular basketball as of late. But again, that is your ideal lineup, especially come postseason time, because as I said, the majority of the teams out west are big, are strong, are tall, etc. And that is why, in fact, the Thunder lost last year to the Dallas Mavericks. And that is why Sam Presti then addressed the need for size by going out and getting Isaiah Hartenstein from the New York Knicks via free agency. Now, let's talk about the OKC Thunder's biggest calling card, their defense. As a former basketball coach, I knew from a very early stage in my basketball life that's now almost 15 years old. For those of, known you or who have known me for a very long time, that is even just crazy to think about. But I know one thing: defense not only wins you games, but it wins you championships. And the Thunder possess probably three of the top five perimeter defenders in the NBA. And who are they? Lou Dort, who again returns tonight against the New Orleans Pelicans. Alex Caruso, who's been really coming on as of late for OKC. And Cason Wallace, who is dealing with a shoulder injury and probably won't play until after the All-Star break. But with that said, when those three guys are all healthy, it is like you're in a torture chamber. In fact, they don't call Lou Dort's defense the torture chamber for no reason. It's literally torture. These three guys will cause havoc on teams' biggest stars. Say if you're facing the LA Lakers, you throw Luka or Lou Dort on Luka. Then you throw Cason Wallace on Luka. Then you throw maybe Shea on Luka. Then you throw Alex Caruso on Luka. It's going to wear him down. You get my drift. Also, the Thunder all have great rim protection in both Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein. In my opinion, I don't think you're going to see that starting five play huge minutes to start halves. That's what you want. But over the course of a game, you're going to see the rotation start start uh, start really moving around. Maybe they just have one center out there with just Hartenstein or just Holmgren, depending on the matchup. But some nights you're going to see Jalen Williams, the backup center, Jaylin Williams. You're going to see him with either Chet or Hartenstein because he also spaces the floor. He can shoot a three ball uh, for the most part. So what I'm saying is the Thunder have so many different pieces that they can use, and Mark Dagnall is pretty damn good at using those quote unquote pieces. And now let's go to the wing position where you have solid defenders there as well. Speaking of Jalen Williams, one of the best young wing defenders in the NBA, Aaron Wiggins has always been a decent defender. His offense has really started coming around the last several weeks, filling in for Lou Dort, filling in for Chad Holmgren. He's been absolutely phenomenal, and I'm hoping that continues. And Kendrick Williams is it's not really a great defender, so to speak, but he knows where to be at the right time, which is why you see him, if you're a Thunder fan, see him take a lot of charges because he's in the right spot at the right time, and it causes havoc for the opponents. And oh yeah, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is a pretty damn good defender as well. And with all that being said, once the Thunder get healthy, it's going to happen eventually. It's going to happen where Mark Dagnall has every single piece to his puzzle at his fingertips. The question now becomes is what do you do with it? And I think it sends one message to the rest of the NBA even after the trade deadline. I think this is the scariest team in the entire National Basketball Association. And you're going to have to do some magical things to knock this Thunder team out of the postseason come April, May, and possibly even June. Now on to the Buffalo Bills. The most valuable player won. Josh Allen named 2024 NFL MVP. This year's NFL MVP voters understood the assignment. Who was more valuable? Emphasize the word valuable. Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen. And for me, it was easy. And this is without bias. The NFL most valuable player in the 2024-25 NFL season was clearly Josh Allen. And I'll tell you why. Yes, Jackson had a better uh, statistical season than Josh Allen, and these numbers bear that out. Jackson 4,172 yards, 41 touchdowns, 4 picks, with a completion percentage of 66.7%, while Allen had 3,731 yards, 28 touchdowns, and 6 total INTs. I must confess that these stats do not include their rushing touchdowns. They both had more, obviously, but I couldn't find it when I was doing my research earlier this afternoon. So that is my fault. I've got to do a better job there. But moving on. By looking at these numbers, you would think Lamar Jackson would be the runaway MVP. But that does not mean, stats do not mean that you are the most valuable player in the NFL. I'll start off by saying this in Allen's favor. Allen beat both number one overall seeds in both conferences. The Kansas City Chiefs, who of course lost last night, but we're not going to recap it on this show because nobody cares. Because the Bills, the Lions weren't in it, the Commanders weren't in it, etc. Nobody really cared about the game last night. Honestly, nobody really cared other than the cities of Kansas City and Philadelphia. That's really about it. But it was great to see Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelsey, Andy Reid get absolutely dismantled by that Philly defense that was absolutely phenomenal last night. But back to my point here. Allen had only one Pro Bowler on his roster. And who was it? His left tackle, Deion Dawkins. Meanwhile, Lamar had seven Pro Bowlers on his roster, including Derrick Henry and Zay Flowers. It and it also seemed like the national media entirely discounted the Bills, who thought, oh, they're in a rebuilding year. This is the Dolphins' year. This is the Jets' year. Newsflash, Aaron Rodgers ain't coming back to New York because of how pathetic his season was over in New Jersey. And everybody thought this because the Bills traded away Stephon Diggs and lost Gabe Davis, Mitch Morris, Jordan Poyer, and Tre'Davious White, all due to free agency, and Micah Hyde decided to take a hiatus, in which eventually led to his eventual return, and now he's officially retired. For those of you who do not know that, you should by now. But with all that being said, Josh Allen literally looked at naysayers and said, one of my favorite funny quotes of all time, hold my beer. And he put up his best career year up to this point, and I think it's only up for from here for Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. That is the true meaning of an MVP. Most valuable means to me who or what player is the most valuable to their team. Yes, stats are a small part of a small part in that, in my opinion. I understand those saying, "Oh yeah, Lamar had a better year, this and that, and the other thing. The numbers show this and that." He lost to the Cleveland Browns this year. Just for context, Josh Allen, with lesser talent, with not a real number one wide receiver, Khalil Shakir ascended into that role as the season progressed. But at the beginning of the year, the Bills did not have a number one receiver. Yes, Brandon Bean, kind of helped him out by getting Amari Cooper, but he didn't do much as a Buffalo Bill. So that really doesn't count. Your defense wasn't all that great all season, but you still managed to beat the Kansas City Chiefs in the regular season, that is, unfortunately, and the Detroit Lions. And you managed to do that with one Pro Bowler on your entire roster, which is criminy, but that's a story for another day. And to say, you know, I think we're having the same debate between SGA and Nikola Jokic right now. And all I have to say is this: who has the better record? The Oklahoma City Thunder. Who is leading the NBA in points per game? The Oklahoma City Thunder. Whose second best player missed 39 games this season? And you're still sitting at the top of the tougher of the two the two NBA conferences. The Oklahoma City Thunder. Yes, Nikola Jokic is having a tremendous season, putting up alien-like numbers, people. But the Denver Nuggets are still fourth in the West. The Thunder absolutely obliterated them on opening night when Isaiah Hartenstein wasn't even there. So again, like I said before, I think we're going into the same debate between Nikola Jokic, who's more of the Lamar Jackson type anyway, and you got the Josh Allen of the world, the SGA, the smooth operator. And look, I, and I also don't want to hear this either. Well, Josh Allen should have got it last year, so the voters felt bad for him. I don't want to hear that. I'll put it to you this way, people. If Josh Allen is not on the Buffalo Bills win 4 games with an average quarterback. 4 games. I guarantee it. Guarantee it. If you put a guy like Sam Darnold under center, who had a phenomenal year with Minnesota, with the Buffalo Bills, they probably win 4, 5, 6, 7 games, nothing special, barely squeak into the playoffs, not even make the playoffs at all. Josh Allen is that valuable to not only this team, this franchise, but also this city. And before I conclude, I've got to say his final line from his speech. It's a great line. Be good, do good, God bless, and go Bills. Also, to conclude this phenomenal show I'm putting together for you guys, I hope you're all enjoying it. We're going to preview the 2025 Daytona 500, people. All right, let's do it. On Sunday, NASCAR will kick off their 77th season of existence at, at the Daytona International Speedway in Daytona Beach, Florida, to kick off their season with, of course, their annual Daytona 500. This field will be the biggest in the 500 for the last several seasons, with 37, including Elio Castroneves, who is in because of a waiver that was agreed upon within the new charter agreement that was signed late last year. So he's locked in regardless because of that quote unquote all-star waiver. So he is locked into the Daytona 500. So there is essentially 3 spots still available for quote open cars. And who is driving those open cars? They include, as I said, 4-time Indy 500 champion Elio Castroneves, 7-time Cup Series champion Jimmy Johnson, 2017 Cup Series champion Martin Truex Jr., who retired from full-time competition last year, and 2024 Xfinity Series champion Justin Allgaier, driving the number 40 Traveler Whiskey Chevrolet for Junior Motorsports. Yes, the junior I'm talking about is Dale Earnhardt Jr., people. He is owning a car that is racing this weekend at Daytona International Speedway. Who will be fast? That's an easy answer. The two organizations that people look at when going into the Daytona 500 to have speed are, of course, Team Penske and Hendrick Motorsports. Those cars are driven by defending Cup Series champion Joey Logano, 2023 Cup Series champion Ryan Blaney, 2022 Daytona 500 champion Austin Cindric, 2021 Cup Series champion Kyle Larson, the defending Daytona 500 champion William Byron, the 2020 NASCAR Cup Series champion Chase Elliott, and Alex Bowman. In fact, for some odd reason, Kyle Larson, who is not a super speedway specialist by any stretch of the imagination, is favored at 10-1. Don't listen to Vegas right now. Don't do it. Don't do it. And don't place your bets on Kyle Larson right now, because I highly doubt he wins this race. If he does, it's because he starts up front, stays up front all day, and doesn't get crashed. Okay. That's how he is going to win his 500, and he will win one eventually, but I don't think it will be this year. In fact, I'm going to give you my winner for the 2025 Daytona 500 right now. Even though I feel like 2025 will be dominated by four drivers: Larson, Ryan Blaney, who I just mentioned, Joe Gibbs Racing's Christopher Bell, and 2311 Racing's Tyler Reddick. None of those four will claim the Harley J. Earl Trophy, which is the Cup Series' biggest prize. In his 20th try at the 500, much like Dale Earnhardt Sr., with Richard Childress Racing, two-time Cup Series champion Kyle Busch will break a near 2-year winless drought and claim his first Daytona 500. You heard it here first. My pick for Sunday's race is the driver of the number 8 Zone Nicotine Pouches Chevrolet from Las Vegas, Nevada. Kyle Busch will win his first Daytona 500 on Sunday. And that'll do it for today's episode. I really hope you all enjoyed. I really enjoyed making this one pretty quickly, was motivated today, so I decided, screw it. Might as well record the whole damn thing right now. And as I said, tune in to tonight's Pelicans Thunder game if you want to see the Thunder ideal lineup, or as I'm going to call it, their death lineup with SGA, Lou Dort, Hartenstein, Holmgren, and Jalen Williams, or J-Dub Williams. To us Thunder fans, if you want to see that game, you can tune into that at 8 p.m. Eastern on NBA League Pass and FanDuel Sports Network if you are in OKC. And also, you can catch the Daytona 500 this Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, only on Fox. I'll see you all on the next Brock of the Buzzer podcast. Thank y'all for watching, and be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I'll see you all very soon.